First, I have a question for the grown-ups, so you guys just listen to what the grown-ups say. Grown-ups, 21 years ago, I believe, tomorrow, was 9/11. So my question for you today is, can you tell the kids up here who were not born, I know, can you believe it? They weren't born. Can you tell them, first off, on that day, how did you hear the news about 9/11? You can just shout out. Did you hear it from Twitter, Facebook, TikTok? How did you hear about it? Television. Radio? What was that? A coworker. Yes, you heard about it the old-fashioned way. And then also I want you to think about this. Tell me just some descriptive words of how you remember that day or how you felt on that day. Tell these kids what the feeling was that day or describe it a little bit. Shocked, sad, scary, those are the words I heard. Confused. What'd you say, Wendy? A joke. You thought it wasn't real.
Right, and then you looked into the sky and you saw all the contrails of the planes going in one direction.
Yeah.
Back.
Yeah. Yeah. So you at first didn't believe it. I heard someone else say shocking.
Yeah, I was listening to the radio in my car, and they announced this, and it was like the War of the Worlds years ago, where it was a joke, and they played it on the radio.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so they all experienced the same event, but I heard maybe some different feelings, you heard about it in different ways, you remember it, you all have your own experience with that event. Now, I want you guys to talk to the grown-ups, because you guys experienced something the last few weeks that they haven't experienced in maybe a long time, which was the first day of school. You all experienced the first day of school. It was terrible. Okay. So, the first day of school. It's been a while since some of them experienced the first day of school. So I want you guys to tell me, first off, I'm gonna ask you a question about your classroom. Does your classroom have a chalkboard with chalk? No. How many of you had classrooms that had chalkboard with chalk? How many of you during the day, sometime at school, get on a computer or a Chromebook? Did you guys get on computers during school? No. How many of your teachers here, use a computer like they project it onto a screen? Yeah, so you watch your teacher working on a computer. Your teacher's not up there writing on a board. No. Sometimes they write on a board. Most of the time you're watching them project something on a screen. Okay, does that sound familiar to any of you? No. So tell me again, let's go back. Tell me some descriptive words of the first day of school. Terrible, good, great, weird, okay, confusing. Okay, so you all had the same event, you experienced the same event, but I hear different memories and different experiences with that day. We're going to keep this in our mind, this idea of all experience the same thing, but maybe having a different perspective on that experience. Today we're talking about this. What is this? The Bible. And for some grown-ups in the room, this book may stir some feelings up. And not all those feelings might be warm, fuzzy feelings about this book. I know for me, this book, I have a lot of feelings about it. Because when I was growing up, I may have grown up different than some of you, but when I was growing up, this book had a lot of rules around it. And I will tell you, when we go upstairs, remind me to tell you about the time I got in trouble for how I handled this book. Because when I was growing up, there were lots of rules just about how you hold on to the book, how you use the book. So I have a lot of feelings about this book. And maybe some of you have some. I'll tell you upstairs. You got to remind me to remember that story, okay? But we're talking about this book. And do any of you have some feelings about this book? And maybe not all of them are warm, fuzzy feelings? Am I the only one that maybe this has some different thoughts about? So we're going to talk about that today. But this book is actually more than just a book. It's a library of books. In fact, there's 66 books in this one book. And when I was a kid, I had to memorize all the, I had to memorize all the books of the Bible, and I had a song, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Acts, Romans, and I had to learn all these books, or Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers. I had to memorize all the books. But it's 66 books, and some of them are poems, and some of them are songs, and some are letters to groups of people about how to follow Jesus. But this book is about people learning what it is, or sharing their experience of what it was to follow God. It's a book about how God wants to be in relationship with every human here. And it's a book that was written by humans, right? I mean, human people wrote this book. And this book is just a collection of stories that people just wanted you to know about. So we're going to go back to this idea of sharing the same experience, first day of school, 9/11, but maybe having a different memory of how it is. Because in this book, there's sometimes some contradictions, some things that are, okay, so you ready? I'm going to read this first part for you. These are, and this book is full of different little, different ideas of what God is like. So I want you to, this is really a quick one. This is from the book of Matthew, and they're talking about Jesus was going to, it's Palm Sunday, so he's going to go and do this big parade on Palm Sunday, and he needs something to ride. So Jesus sends 2 disciples, saying to them, go to the village ahead of you, and at once you will find a donkey tied there with her colt. So Jesus tells the disciples, go find this donkey and this colt, untie them and bring them to me. So the disciples went, and they did as Jesus had instructed them. They brought the donkey and the colt and placed their cloaks on them for Jesus to sit on. Okay, so a donkey and a colt, and Jesus sat on both? Okay. Now, Luke has a different memory of this experience. He says this, go to the village ahead of you, and as you enter it, you will find a colt tied there, which no one has ever ridden. Untie it and bring it to me. They brought it to Jesus, threw their cloaks on the colt, and put Jesus on it. He said nothing about a donkey, did he? So there's kind of a difference in their memory of the same experience. Because this book was written by humans, it's not always going to be perfect, right? So when we look at this book, when we talk about this book, we kind of have to engage with this book a little bit different than maybe another book. So humans are capable of making mistakes, is that correct? Mm-hmm. So we got to kind of think about that when we're reading this book. And they're writing not in 2020. These people were not writing in 2023, were they? They didn't go to classrooms that had computers in them. They're writing to a specific group of people, kind of maybe grown-ups. When you were talking about 9/11, were you thinking about kids? Maybe you changed some of your memories, or you were expressing some of your memories a little different because these are kids, and you might not want to share with them everything about 9/11. Is that correct? We got to think about the audience that we're talking to. And these people were talking to a specific audience, and it's not 2023. And finally, when we're reading it, we got to think about why did these stories survive after years and years and generations and thousands of years? Why were these stories so important for people to pass on again and again and again? When we read it, we have to ask the Holy Spirit, can you show me what I need to know in these stories? We ask the Holy Spirit to guide us, because this is a very complicated book. And so we depend on people like Pastor Robert to help us understand this book. And we depend on the Holy Spirit to help us understand what is written and why it's written and how we can better understand it. So we're going to go upstairs. We're going to talk about this book upstairs while they talk about this book down here. You guys ready? Let's go.